Okay, we are live. We've got a really big show tonight, and we got a special guest. But let me just go here and just make sure that we are, in fact, live, and make sure everything is copacetic. It says we're live.
A really big show tonight. A really big show.
Yep, we are live, and so we'll see if the notifications go out, if anybody pops in. And in the meantime, I want to remind folks that we have a show Monday night at 10 o'clock. Monday night at 10 o'clock coming up. And we've got David Williams in the house, and he's in with a wrench. So, David, don't hesitate to hit somebody over the head if a troll comes in. Smack them over the head. Vegas is in the house.
My doorbell's ringing.
Okay.
I'm going to be right back.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
That's our special guest. We're going to have a really special live report here in a moment. And while he's gone, I want to give you an example of trollery that's not going to be tolerated on this channel. And here's an example, and then I'll give you my reasoning behind this. So I'm switching to my a recent video I just put up about Shockley Honda, about their open house, and they're displaying a new car and having a nice party and a bunch of restaurants contributing for food and just everybody having a great time, right? And this guy here, Steve B.O., as in body odor, says, stupid commercial, okay? So, see, this is what this is going to get this guy. See here, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to say, hide user from channel, right? That takes care of this idiot, okay? So that's the deal here. If you're stupid, if you're not going to be positive and you're not going to contribute to things on this channel, we're just going to hide you, block you, ban you, whatever we have to do, because we want positive people in here. We want people that want to be in motion, that want to make forward progress. We don't want people that shoot themselves in the foot, people that do stupid things all the time and then complain that they're broke. So that's how we're going to handle trolls on this channel. They run rampant on other channels, but they're not going to run rampant on this one. And somebody said the other day, I was in Clive's show, and somebody says, oh, well, you're against free speech. There's no free speech on my channel. This is my channel, folks. And we're going to be positive here. And if you think free speech is trolling people and saying ignorant things, that's not going to fly here. So we're going to try to be positive. We're going to try to help people along the way. That's what I do. That's what I do for a living. I help people. And if people don't want help and they want to be a troll, and in fact they want to harm others, then we're going to deal with them appropriately. And we'll give people a wrench that want to help us with that. R. Wags is in the house. R. Wags, maybe we should give R. Wags a wrench. Let me know if you'd like to have a wrench, R. Wags, and we'll give you a wrench. Let's see, who else is in the house? Ray's in the house. And Juan's in the house.
Craig, I'm back in my house, too.
Okay, and let's cut right now. Without further ado, we're cutting to Dudley. Show that stunner. Show that stunner. That's a moment of silence.
I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of upside down. Hold on 1 second,
It
Craig.
is absolutely stunning. Oh, look at that thing. Look how heavy that thing is. Look at the, oh my gosh. Yeah, and see, and let us see the profile view to see how thin it is.
Is that coming through?
It's coming through gorgeous. Oh, look at that. Put your hand behind it so that it focuses on your hand, like your hand, put it flat behind it. Yeah, that helps. That helps the camera focus. Oh, look at that. Holy mackerel. And you tell me, folks, I mean, we had an idiot, and I'm not gonna name him, but we had an idiot on Clive's show talking about how great steel Rolexes are, and how, you know, you shouldn't have a day-date. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? Did you all see that watch? Show it one more time.
Wait. You said someone said you should not have a day-date?
Yeah. Show that watch one more time. Look at that thing. Now you tell me the steel Rolex that would look better on wrist than that. Look how that thing fits right nice flush on the wrist. Look how durable that thing is. Rugged. Let me know in the chat what you all think about that. Okay? Nicest watch I've seen in a long time, Dudley. Enjoy. Only Rolex I would buy.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Beautiful. Absolutely, I want a wrench. R. Wags. Let's give him a wrench so he can smack somebody over the head with it. Give them a timeout if they're just a little bit nasty. If they're real nasty, just block them. Let's see here. What we got? Next watch. Gorgeous Rolex from R. Wags again. R. Wags, we got to give him a wrench. I thought I just gave him a wrench, but let me see here. Oh, no, I just gave him one. It's just not showing up. Maybe he's got to accept it or something. Okay, so...
Craig, so I hate to be rude, but we're in kind of a time crunch, so
yes.
let's just jump right into
all right,
the details.
Tell the story.
Discuss whatever it is you want to talk about.
Tell the story. You're on screen. Tell the story about what happened recently, and just so folks know.
Okay, so... when we were talking about the dial and the honeycomb dial last time, you know, I was mentioning that it has to be in the right type of light. It's so subtle. It's not overwhelming. It's not like it's the motif on the black dial is just slapping you in the face. So I didn't see anything, but for whatever reason, I was riding down the road and I saw the light shining on it just right, and I noticed a little dimple. And so, you know, I kind of...
Describe it. Describe what it looked like.
It looked like an indention. It was a slight indention on the dial, and you know, it was enough to strike my concern. And it was a brand new watch that I purchased from an AD, and so I took pictures of it, of which I sent to you. Did you show him the pictures, Craig?
We showed them the pictures on Clive's show last night, but I didn't show them on this channel. Show them on this channel, but yeah, it was just below the top where it says DAY-DATE and a little bit to the right, right?
So anyway, I ended up contacting them, and they immediately sent me a label. They could not have been any more accommodating, I must say, and the next day, it was back in Miami, and I talked to the Rolex professional that they had there, and they went ahead, Craig, and changed the entire movement out with the dial. So I don't know if there's some sort of marriage there between the two, but they wanted me to have as new, and they wanted me to have a good feeling about everything, and. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I was nervous about it. I talked to you, and they sent it back the next day. Surpassed all my expectations. Made me feel good. The dial looks great. Couldn't have been
as well. They should have done this. You bought a flagship watch from them, and right. I'm glad they treated you right. It makes all the sense in the world. And you say it's plus half a second a day. So it's a little bit fast. Perfect. But it's within a second. Yeah, and that's what you want. You want a little bit fast. You don't want slow, because we all know it's much easier to adjust the time if it's running a little fast. Just stop the second hand for a couple seconds. That's a lot easier to do than to have to recalibrate everything if it's running slow. So so Craig, one of our mutual acquaintances did a stream about gold fever. Yes. You were bringing that up? Yes. And I don't know if you want to set the context for that or not, but well, yeah, Clive was making the comment that everybody's starting to talk about day dates and getting day dates and so on. And I made the comment to him. I said, listen, in this case, I'm going to take credit for it because I've been talking up the day-date for a long time now, and I think people are finally starting to come around. Look at that watch. Jeez. Yeah. People are finally starting to come around and realize that this is the watch. Back in the day, 40 years ago, when I got my first day-date, everybody that had steel Rolexes, some of them had steel and gold, some of them had steel. The only reason they did that is because they couldn't afford the day-date. They all wanted the day-date. The day-date was the watch to have. It still is the watch to have, and that's full stop. I mean, these people that are paying way over list for a steel Rolex, in my opinion, they need to have their heads examined. They should be buying a solid gold Rolex. If they can't buy a new one, you can buy a lot of used ones for a pretty decent price if you're smart and look around. I think you did the right thing, Dudley. That watch is absolutely stunning. Hold it up one more time. I can't get enough of that Day-Date 40. Look at you, folks. You tell me. I mean, that is amazing. Okay, so we got some good comments here. Why aren't you wearing your MAGA hat? Do you have a MAGA hat?
No, what is that?
That's
is that because
that's
I'm,
the
white and bald or
that's
something?
Make America
Some sort of
Great.
inference?
Make America Great Again hat. I hope that person is not being negative and saying that, because we will block them if we determine that Ted is a troll. If we determine that Ted is a troll, we'll hit him over the head with the wrench.
Well, I didn't know we were really talking about politics, but the Day-Date is great. I love it. I have zero remorse.
And you're out there making things happen. I mean, you're in motion. You're making things happen. Yeah. And, when you're in motion, folks, and you're making things happen, I'll talk about politics for about a half second. Here's the deal. No politician is gonna get you a Day-Date on your wrist. You're going to have to get out there and make things happen yourself and take control. And that's why I have a whole section on my website called Take Control Downloads, because there have never been more opportunities in these United States of America than there are right now. And those of you that aren't taking advantage, you're not going to have a Day-Date 40 on your wrist like Dudley. So there's that.
Well, look, Craig, let me add something to that. It was not such a hard pill to swallow, because I went from 5 watches to 2 watches. So there's a lot of people on here that have all these steel sports Rolexes, and you can consolidate them, and it makes it more obtainable. And
you did the right thing. We've been talking about that. Yeah, we've been talking about that with Clive. He's been consolidating. And I've been talking about that with some other folks. I told him, I said, get out of those steel watches while you can, because this bubble is not going to maintain itself forever, and it's already starting to get to weaken. Here's somebody just made a comment in the chat that the Daytona is the watch to have, like it or not, Ryan. Ryan couldn't be more wrong. Those watches were always soft. Nobody wanted those watches. They didn't sell well back in the day. This is just a current fervor that is going to pass, and a lot of people are going to be stuck with those watches that they paid like double retail for. They're going to be sitting there with a steel watch that they paid 20 grand for, and they could have had a Day-Date on their wrist. And more fool them. Hey, let them do it. Let them do it. But that's the wrong way to go.
Hopefully no one's dying tomorrow. And, if you it's a scary jump, to sell all these watches that you love, but it's at the opportunity cost of experiencing something really enjoyable.
So I'm going to give you an example, Dudley, of a troll being blocked. This guy Ted, that I mentioned earlier, that he's not real bright. He said, Craig, do you think he really owns that Day-Date? He's leasing it for $200 a month like all salesmen do. They lease it to flash it in people's faces. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm clicking on that comment, and I'm clicking on hide user from channel, right? And bam, that takes care of that idiot. All right, so there you go, folks. Well, there's a perfect example. There's a total loser that put a comment in the chat that something that he knows nothing about, and he wanted to just kind of like rattle a little bit and like troll a little bit. And so we just slapped him over the head with the wrench. Yeah. There you go. That's how we work this channel. We don't put up with it.
I would never recommend, financing a luxury watch. I mean, that's crazy.
I think so. I think people can get stuck with that too. The stats are that 2/3 of Americans in these United States of America are flat broke. 2/3 of them. Okay, and it's because they've been buying everything on credit, and they're heavily in debt, and you take their assets and their liabilities, and the liabilities are a little heavier than the assets. So yeah, that's a real problem that people can get into, and it is what it is. Dudley, what's your favorite watch you've ever owned? question in the chat.
Right now, it's what I'm wearing. Undoubtedly, hands down.
Not even
After
a
this, it was the
close,
Datejust 41.
and not even a close call.
No, the only thing I liked about the Datejust 41 was the 11.8 millimeters thickness of the watch. But this is just 12, and like I said, the bracelet, it fits so well around the wrist that it's a flat 12, Craig.
Yeah, I saw that when you had it, when you were holding it like, up like this. Yeah, you could see. And when you had it, see how I'm holding mine? Point it to the camera like mine is. Yeah, you can, there you go. You can kind of see it right like that. It sits nicely on the wrist. And so, did they give you new papers? Somebody asked. I don't think they had to because the serial number and all that didn't change, right? But maybe the movement?
The serial number's exactly the same.
Does the movement have a number? Is there a movement
does
number?
not have a number. That was my first question.
Okay.
I didn't want to be in a situation where
the numbers don't match.
If the apocalypse came, I would have some sort of disastrous Frankenwatch situation.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like that. It was a good experience, and I'm glad I did it. Why would I want to pay the type of money that I paid, even though I said it was from liquidating those other watches, and then have a less than dial. It just didn't make sense to me. So
well, you did the right
regret.
Yeah, you did the right thing. They stood up and they took care of the situation. I'm really pleased that you could come into the channel and share this.
I don't want to be rude, Craig, but I got it. My son's birthday party is today, so we got all sorts of stuff going on.
Okay.
But I hope you have me on again. I would love to talk about it more because I'm sure there's some things that could have been discussed that
after a week or so with the new watch, let's touch base and let's see how it's running after a week. How's that?
Sounds great, and thank you, Craig, very much. And I hope everyone has a nice weekend.
Very good.
And let's
Thank
do
you
it again.
Dudley. You're a stand-up guy. Thanks for coming in and doing the right thing out there. You're doing positive things out in the community, and that's where it's at. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. All right, we're going to close out the hangout and show you the side view of the diver stunner there. And let me see if I can get the top view. There you go. And somebody made a comment that I know, I was on Clive's show and the dog man, he makes a comment how Grand Seiko is like second fiddle to Rolex. And I had to laugh. I'm like, I guess he's never seen a Grand Seiko, and he probably sure as heck has not seen this one. That thing's got so much over a Submariner, it's not even funny. It's not even a close call. So there you go. Let's see what else we got going on here. Why did you get the black dial? Well, no, diamond dial. Hey, that black dial is stunning. I don't blame him. That's the one I would get. I think the diamond dials are a little bit tacky, and I think he agrees. And we talked about it. And also the lume on those hour markers is really fantastic looking. You can see a lume shot on my Flickr. I've got a bunch of photos of the Day-Date 40 on there. You can see a lume shot. It is fantastic. So, yeah, I think he got the right one. Yeah, somebody says, how's it in the dark? Yes, the lume is very good. You see a blemish like that, you keep spotting it all the time. Exactly. Yeah, it's something that would nag at you. Archie says, if you have to consolidate to get a watch, then you really can't afford it. Well, a lot of people buy watches they can't afford, and if they buy 6 or 8 watches they can't afford, that's even worse. Right? Better buy one watch you can't afford than buy 6 or 8. I've seen a Grand Seiko, and the bracelet was such a letdown. My bracelet's fantastic on mine. I don't know which one you looked at, but the bracelet on that is absolutely fantastic. Super comfortable. easy to adjust. Of course, my gold stunner here, I've got a alligator strap on it, which it really should be centered better. I should get one. I can get one custom made so it'll be centered on the wrist better. This is really designed for a smaller wrist, this particular strap, so it doesn't really center, but it works. I mean, it gets the job done, and I think it looks absolutely stunning. So I guess to each their own. Let's see, Craig, can you try to talk about other watches sometimes, not just GS and Day-Date, even if you don't like the other watches as much? I talk about the watches that I wear and use, and I talk about products that I wear and use. Like, for example, I've talked about Oxford, and this particular sport coat is alpaca. Is made of alpaca, and it's by Oxford Clothes, made in these United States of America. So I talk about things that I actually use and wear. And so as of now, right now, I've got 2 Grand Seikos that I'm using and wearing. And of course, in the past, I've worn Day-Dates for many, many years before I converted over to Grand Seiko. So yeah, I talk about the things that I use. Sometimes I have guests on that talk about other things. But here we talk about things that we have knowledge of and that we actually know a few things about, as opposed to some channels that'll talk out of their butt about anything that they know nothing about. So we're a little bit different on this channel. I don't care for his gold watch, but he seems to be a really nice guy. He is a super nice guy, and that watch is beautiful. Titanium is done by GS, has to be seen and felt to believed. Absolutely. The comfort on wrist of that watch, that diver, is just astonishing. And I buy these watches to actually wear them. Imagine the novelty of that. I actually wear and use them. So to me, the use case is very important. How they feel on wrist, and how they look on wrist, and how they present, and how readable they are as far as the dial. Like this one has the ivory dial, and the gold hands really stand out on it, and it's very legible for what it is, for a very elegant dress watch. So it's all about the usability for me. New 36mm Day-Date. That'll be interesting to see if they do that, if they put the new movement in it. What is the absolute best navy blue blazer to buy today? I would try to get an Oxford. If you search on eBay and save the search, eBay will email you when something comes in that matches your search criteria. So first thing you need to do is make sure what size you wear. Go to a high-end clothing store, as high-end as you can find, and try on some jackets and see if you wear like a 40 regular or 42, or what size you wear. So you got to buy the correct size to start with. Now, if the sleeves need to be shortened or something like that, a good tailor or a dry cleaner that does alterations that's pretty good can do that sort of thing. But you don't want to have to do a lot of modifications to the coat. So yeah, Oxford, I would definitely buy that. OXXFORD. OXXFORD. If I think about it, I'll put a link in the description of this video to some pictures of some things like that. Okay. You say don't own 10 watches, but people buy expensive new cars. You can buy many watches and drive a 10-year-old car. I would do both. I do. I drive a 10-plus-year-old car. My Prius is a 2004. It's in great condition. It's got and I just checked, it's got like 115,000 miles on it. Runs great. It's in great condition. It's always been kept in the garage. So it's real nice. And I do highway miles on it. Like I don't commute back and forth to work or anything like that. That's kind of hard on cars. So it's been babied. So yeah, get a nice car like a Toyota or something and baby it and keep it for a long time. And then buy watches that are practical to use, and 1, maybe 2 watches, and invest the rest. That would be my advice. Invest, and then invest again. Craig, what color Milgauss do you like? Blue face, white, or black? I've seen the black. It looks pretty good. But the Milgauss is a little bit thick because of that, the cage all around it. Personally, I think I would rather just get a Datejust. Unless you really need that anti-magnetic. I've never had a problem with a watch getting magnetized. In 40 plus years of wearing these watches and a lot of Rolexes, I've never had a problem with magnetism. So I don't know about the whole anti-magnetism thing. But yeah, black, I think I'd go with the black. Did you sell because you got bored of it? Because I wasn't wearing it. I don't keep watches around that I'm not wearing. That's ridiculous. I mean, I'd rather take that money and invest it. This can never evolve into a watch channel if you only keep talking about 2 model watches. This is not a watch channel. This is, you know, I talk about all kinds of things. And I have videos up here on my channel of camera gear that I use, EDC items. Of course, I cover a lot of events. I have videos for my sponsors of my various websites like Frederick.com. I have hundreds of businesses that sponsor that website. I do videos of talking about them. The watch videos are really a small part of my channel, like almost like a sideline thing. And then, of course, we have the Cowgirls Live Monday nights at 10 p.m. That is all about the lifestyle of cowgirls and rodeo and that sort of thing. So we're very well-rounded around here. We're not just focused on one thing, watches. No, there's a lot more to life than just watches. Let's see here. Craig, have you seen pictures of the newly released ultra slim manual wind Grand Seikos? The 18 karat gold with alligator strap is stunning. I've seen them. The case design, I got to see it in person, but like I like this case design on this one. It's very elegant, the way the lugs go and everything. It seems like a lot of the Grand Seikos, they're making the cases a little more bulbous than they need to be. I guess that's a thing nowadays, but yeah, I'll have to see them, but they're going the right direction. Making the watches thinner is a very good thing. Okay. If you put 40K in the stock market, it will be 400K in 20 years. So he really paid 400K for that day-date. That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. These watches are a lot more expensive than you think they are when you look at the lost opportunity of the investment that you don't have. So that's why if you buy a high-end luxury item like a watch, it should almost be throwaway money for you. It should be mad money, you know, a small part of your world. I say 1 week's income is what I say, or you should be a multimillionaire. If you're a multimillionaire, let's say you have $2-3 million invested, then you can splurge on a $30,000 watch, right? Or if you make that much every week, let's say you make $30,000 a week, which some people do, doctors and so forth do, buy a watch like that. It's a luxury watch. It's for a wealthy person. It's not just for your average person to buy a 40 mil day-date. It's not. You're supposed to have some scratch to buy something like that. Let's see here. Craig hasn't bought new clothes in over 20 years, and he's giving us fashion. No, I'm not giving fashion tips. No. And I won't block you for that because that's a true comment. But if you start trolling, I will block you. I'm not giving fashion tips. My gosh, I have never dressed in the latest fashion. I dress in extremely conservative clothes that you can always wear decade in, decade out. Like this sport coat, this was in vogue 20 years ago. It would be in vogue 10 years from now because it's a very conservative style. You can wear a style like this anytime. If you buy the trendy stuff, like right now they got the narrow lapels like they had back in the 60s. They got the narrow lapels, and then they got the coats are real short. You know, like they look like they're made for a little boy. If you wear that stuff, it might be in fashion for 1 or 2 years, and then you're going to have to get rid of all of it and buy new. That's not how I do. I buy timeless stuff that will always work. Now, this spread collar on this shirt, a little bit trendy. I normally wouldn't buy a spread collar. This was actually a gift. It's a Gitman Brothers shirt, so it's a high-end shirt, and I do wear it occasionally, kind of rarely. It doesn't even have a pocket on it, so that's another reason why I don't wear it very often. But No, the trendy stuff you're not going to find here. You're going to find stuff that is timeless, classic, that you can wear all the time, that you can get out there and do a business deal and make money. I'm about being successful and helping other people be successful. If you want to throw away your money on the latest trends and all that kind of stuff and buy some trendy watch like some steel Rolex for double the retail, you're not going to hear any recommendation here to do any of that. The Air King, I love it. I like the Air King. Let's see here. And get a deal on it. You should be able to get a deal on an Air King. Thanks, Thomas, pulling the trigger next week. I need camera tutorials. You can ask some specific questions in the chat. I'll try to help you out. And I do have a lot of videos about photography and audio and a bunch of things like that on my channel here. White or blue dial Milgauss are nice alternatives. Absolutely. I think you're right there, too. I think they're all good looking, really. Can you wear a gold watch in a pool or ocean and not ruin the go? Absolutely. You can wear it all the time. They're very rugged. They hold up great. I wore my Day-Date all the time. I did usually have a sport watch in rotation, so if I was doing something like working on the car or something really nasty, I would put on the sport watch, usually like a GMT Master 2 most of the time. But yeah, I wore the Day-Date a lot, and yes, I did swim with it. I did take it in the hot tub. People say you shouldn't take them in the hot tub and all this stuff. Never a problem. They're very rugged. They hold up great. And anybody tells you they don't know what they're talking about. They will get like a patina all over them. Very fine scratches that you have to look at with a loop, right? But they'll look great. Look at the latest videos on my Day-Date. It was about 19 years old when I did the last videos on it. And people say, oh, it's all scratched up and all that. Go ahead and look at them and be your own judge. I think the thing looked fantastic. Let's see here. Do you know how long it will before Steve gets going with his watch videos? Hopefully another week or so. He's getting all his stuff together. He has been buying gear, and he will do it. And so there you go. He's going to have 40 watch brands he's going to be talking about. So he'll be talking about a bunch of watches on this channel. What's a few of your favorite music groups? Let's see. Boston. That dates me, doesn't it? Fleetwood Mac. I remember going to a concert of theirs in 1978. It was a blast. Boston about the same time. I remember Fleetwood Mac's Tusk album. That was good stuff. I don't listen to any of the rap, any of this newer stuff. This newfangled stuff you kids listen to. I don't listen to any of that. Let's see here. Who is your favorite watch YouTuber? I like the Clivester. I like Archie Luxury. He's funny. He's entertaining. Tim is a very good resource. Very smart guy. I think he should buy shirts. It's like his shirts, like he buys them in the boys section. They have the small like button-down collars. I think he should buy real shirts. But he is so smart and really knows. He's forgotten more about watches than most people will ever know, I think. His shows are very good, and his reviews are very good. The spread collar on you looks great. Yeah, it's okay. I'm not a big fan of spread collars, but it's a Gitman Brothers shirt, so I mean, it's a high-end shirt. Yeah, it's going to look okay. They're made in the United States of America. I think that's a good thing. Let's see here. Milgauss and any dial are beautiful. Can't wait for the new one. Yeah, I think the Air King's a little bit thinner, isn't it? Or does it have the same cage in it? Maybe it has the same anti-magnetic cage in it, too. That's the only thing about those watches, is they're a little bit thicker than some of the watches that don't have that cage. Craig, Bark&Jack's newest video on the Explorer 2, he ASY watches are investment. Are you saying he says they're investments? Yeah, he refers a lot of times as watches as investments. I think that's a big mistake and bad advice. You should always calculate the future value of money you spend on any luxury item. Good point. Plus, it complements my 21214270. Okay? So here's the deal. Here's the deal about any purchases you make, really, not just luxury items, but any time money goes out of your possession for anything, you're in effect robbing your future of maybe a significant amount of money, because these things add up. Let's say you go to Starbucks every day, for example. If you add all that money up, if you took that same money and invested it, you'd be surprised how much those coffees are costing you. And coffee's not good for you anyway. So there are a lot of things that I choose not to spend money on. I'm kind of cheap in a lot of ways, because I know that as soon as that money leaves my hands, it not only cost me whatever it is that I just bought, but it cost me whatever growth that money would have generated over years. Now, I don't have as many years in front of me as you guys do, but I was thinking this way 40 years ago. So the sooner you start thinking that way and thinking about it from a standpoint of, I'm not just spending $10 here. I'm spending that 10 in 7 years is going to double. So it's 20 in 7 years. 7 years after that, it's $40. 7 years after that, it's $80. Okay, and it keeps growing like that. And then double it again, it's $160. So that $10 was $160, right? So think about that a little bit when you buy something that you really probably don't need. And it's not easy to think about it that way, and a lot of people would say, oh, he's so cheap, he won't even spend $10 on or whatever. Well, it might not be $10. Let's see here. Let's see. Working on a car wearing a GMT. Yeah, I wear watches all the time. The easiest way to lose a Rolex is to take it off and set it down somewhere. Right? Put it somewhere safe. That's the easiest way to lose one. It's been done. So let's see. I used to wear my sub in a hot shower and clean it with cold sink water afterwards. The quick change in temperature results in condensation under the crystal. Consider yourself warned. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't take it from hot water to cold. I wouldn't try to shock the watch like that. But yeah, I never had any watch that got fogged up or anything like that. That would be a real bad thing for moisture to get in there like that. I told Adrian he should come on this channel and chat with Craig about watches as investments. No, I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think that's going to happen. I saw Fleetwood Mac also. Yeah, they're awesome. Good morning from Australia. Good morning, Jared. Any Rolex prediction for Basel World 2019? I'm thinking they might fix the maxi case on the subs. I'm thinking they might soften those thick bulbous, the way the maxi case goes down and like cuts into the bracelet. I'm thinking they might soften that like they did on the Pepsi, the GMT Pepsi. That would be nice if they did that. And the newer movements and all the watches that don't have them yet, I think would be a good move. Why did you stop wearing your Day-Date 36? It wasn't that legible for me. As you know, I'm old and my eyes are not that great. And so a lot of times I don't have my reading glasses on. And I couldn't really read that watch easily without my reading glasses. In good sunlight, I could. But there wasn't enough contrast between the hands and the dial. And so that's why I got the GS Diver. I can read that in any lighting situations without my reading glasses on. See, my eyes for distance are pretty good, so I don't generally wear glasses. And I don't like to always have to put the reading glasses on. So yeah, that's my reason. If I had younger eyes, I probably would still be wearing it. It was a fantastic watch, and that's why I'm thinking about maybe maybe, it's a big maybe, a Day-Date 40 with the black dial, like Dudley has, because I think I could read that pretty good contrast. Craig, you live ones. I don't know what you mean by that. Is spending money on traveling important to you, though? When I travel, I usually try to also keep expenses down. Until recently, I traveled a lot in my motor coach, and so I would travel relatively short distances each hop, and like I would go down to Florida and take it in several hops, and then spend the winter down there, and then come back, and I don't spend a lot of money on plane tickets. I don't like to fly. I don't like to go through all the TSA stuff. So I traveled by motor coach. And so when I travel by motor coach, I've got my office and everything with me. So I can kind of continue to do business and all that. It's sort of like a mobile office on the road. And so even when I travel, I'm generally keeping my expenses low. I'm not staying in hotels or anything like that, for example. I don't like sleeping in strange beds with bed bugs and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I like to travel by motor coach. So there's that. And yeah, you can also keep expenses down. 7 years is a long time, though. Unfortunately, I think the maxi case is here to stay. I hope not. Hey, in the overall schemes of things, depends on how old you are. 7 years is not that long. If you're a young person, you're going to have 7 plus 7 plus 7. You're going to have a lot of 7 years. Unfortunately, I think that... okay, here's a thought, Craig, for all the young guys. It is coincidence that you drive a 2004 car and I drive a 2005 Jeep, and we both have high net worths. As Dave Ramsey says, if you buy things that are going down in value, often it's going to suck your wealth building capability. If I'm spending, let's say I'm spending $500 a month on a car payment, that's a lot of money I could be putting in investments. So that's not peanuts, folks. And that adds up over time. I think he did the math one time, and he said, like, if you're a youngster and you took $500 a month for like 40 years or something, I think he said it was like $5 million or something, some huge amount. He's like, that car better be a nice car for $5 million bucks. So, yeah, I think if you buy an affordable car, you take really good care of it, keep it inside. That's a key. Keep it inside. I think you're going to come out ahead. Yeah, R-Wags, you're right about all that. But still, I mean, enjoy yourself. I mean, I like to wear nice, comfortable clothes, and for me, I think it helps in my business dealings. Plus, it's comfortable. I mean, this jacket is extremely comfortable. I mean, it's very soft. It's I think I already mentioned it's alpaca. So, yeah, I mean, treat yourself to some things, but then I wear these things, and I use them, and I wear them for a long time, as was already pointed out. I have clothes that are literally 30 or 40 years old that I still wear. So I'm getting the max I can possibly get out of them. What would Tudor have to do to change your opinion on them? I don't really have an opinion about it. It's like there's a ton of what I call no-name watch brands out there that I just have no interest in, because I'm going to buy something that is high-end, that is really going to get the job done for me, because I use these watches as tools. I want them to be accurate. I want them to be rugged. I want them to hold up. I want them to look great. I use them in my attire as an accessory. So I'm very picky, and this diver is extremely robust, extremely accurate. I think it looks good when I'm dressed casually. So it checks all the boxes I need to check. So why do I need to consider a Tudor? Tudor can't do what this watch does. It's not going to have a spring drive. It's not going to be as comfortable on wrist. It's not, even the titanium ones, I think they do make a titanium one. It doesn't look as good as the titanium, the grade 5 titanium that Grand Seiko uses. So there's a whole lot of reasons why I would rather have that watch. It's not that I have anything against Tudor. It's just that it doesn't check the boxes I'm looking for. And this solid gold, 18 karat gold dress watch here with the 9F movement, they don't make anything like a 9F movement. Nobody does. Only Grand Seiko makes it. So, and this thing is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it goes great with when I'm wearing a suit or a sport coat like this with a dress cuff. It just works. And thank you very much for the super chat. I almost never get super chats. It's not necessary at all, but thank you very much. The Rolex Day-Date is a beautiful watch. Always was. A yes, and another yes on that. R-Wags, another 2005 Jeep Wrangler sport owner here. Well, there you go. Clothes are the biggest waste of money. At least Rolex holds its value. See, right there, that's the kind of statement. That's why people stay broke, is they're worried about the value of their watch. And the dog man made the comment. He runs a kennel or whatever, right? Mark made the comment on Clive's show about that. If you spend $5,000 on a Rolex, you still have the $5,000. And I'll say again, if you have to worry about the value of your watch, that means you can't afford that watch. You shouldn't have bought it. So in other words, if you're thinking about the watch as an investment, as a store of value, whatever frame you want to frame it as, then you should not have bought the watch in the first place. Same thing with a sport coat. If you're going to spend money on a high-end sport coat, first of all, you don't have to buy it new. If you want to be thrifty, you can literally buy it at a thrift shop. Okay? But if you want to step up and you want to buy it new, I bought quite a few high-end clothes many years ago that I still have, including this jacket here. And I bought them because I was in business and I wanted to dress sharp and I was doing deals. And they were basically my uniform, was what they were. And so they helped me make money. And I like them and they're comfortable. But I certainly didn't buy them with money that I should have been investing. I bought them with extra money, if you will. So you should be investing at least 15% of your gross income. Right off the top, you should invest 15%. Now, after that, you pay for your clothing, your housing, your car, your whatever. But invest 15%, and you're going to be way, way, way ahead of the game as far as everybody else that's broke. Let's see here. And here's the thing about clothes. I mean, it depends on what you do for a living, right? If you work in a job, let's say you're a butcher and you're in the back cutting up meat all the time, well, you're wearing jeans and you're wearing one of those white, apron things or whatever. So you don't have to dress nice. But if you're out there doing business deals, if you're like a salesman, like a car salesman or whatever, nowadays they wear like polo shirts and stuff with the name of the car dealership on it. But back in the day, you didn't dress like that. The successful salespeople, I'll put it this way, they dress nice, and that shows respect for your customer. It's not just respecting yourself, you're showing respect for the people that you're doing business with by dressing nicely, I think. The hands on the Seiko are weird. They actually look very good in person. In this macro shot, they look a little bit like squared off and like not quite as refined, but in person, they really look fantastic. You really have to see it in person. I didn't particularly like them that much when I first saw them, but I realized that a lot of it's functionality. They're so thick and all that. That's what makes them so readable. And so they're functional, and they do look a lot better in person than they look in a macro shot like that. And most watches you should look at to see what they look like really in person and on your wrist and all that. People look at a lot of these watches macro shots, and that's not really what they look like in real world use. If you need to get rid of a Tudor watch, it's not an easy watch to sell. I don't really care for their stuff, to be honest. It is trying to be a Rolex, but it's just not as good. Yeah, it's not. Absolutely, it's not. Mark Goldberg. There you go. And I didn't, when I said the dog man, I wasn't trying to be disparaging about it. I was just, that's the business he's in. And I know a lot of people that are in that business. I've got 2 or 3 kennels that are sponsors on Frederick.com. They do quite well. It's a good business to be in. So no wonder he can afford to buy a Rolex. But he should get rid of some of those steel watches and just consolidate and get a nice gold piece, like a Day-Date 40. I think he'd be rocking and rolling it. I have to say the Pelagos is a possible option. Titanium. Have to consider the big picture, though, in terms of watch ownership goals. Yeah, I mean, you just can't beat the spring drive. I mean, it's just stone cold accurate, and the sweep of that second hand, and I mean, I couldn't be happier. And trust me, I would go back to a Rolex in a heartbeat if I didn't absolutely love that watch, wearing that watch. I'm not married to Grand Seiko, okay? And I've said this before, if that watch gives trouble, it will be out of here. And I'll be on to something else. I mean, I don't put up with a watch that gives trouble, period. Now, in all my years of wearing Rolexes, I never really had a problem. And I don't expect to have a problem with a high-end watch. If you buy a high-end watch like a Grand Seiko or a Rolex or even an Omega or of course a Patek Philippe, you should expect trouble-free service out of it, I think, or I wouldn't buy it. I don't know about the Patek Philippe because I don't know that they're that durable, but the other examples are good examples. I would have to get it with titanium. 150 grams hurts my wrist. A watch that sits in the bank box is a tool that goes unused. Yeah, I don't think it makes any sense to buy these watches to just store them somewhere. Life is too short. Buy a nice watch and wear it and enjoy it. Don't save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. Does that sum it up? Yeah, that's right. 15% right off the top. You should be saving 15% off the top minimum. Right off the top. And that doesn't count like I bought Bitcoin, stuff like that. That's extra. That's above and beyond the 15%. So, are mutual funds the best conservative option for investment? I like mutual funds, and you can diversify. You can buy like different ones that focus on different things. And what I do is when I do, like let's say I invest $7,000, I'll invest it in one mutual fund, right? And then I'll let that ride. And I pick mutual funds that have at least a 10-year decent track record. And then when I invest another $7,000, I'll buy a different mutual fund that also has a very good, there's tons of them, right? That also has a very good track record. Now, I do buy some individual stocks. I own some Apple stock, but that's a small part of my portfolio. Like less than 10% are like individual stocks. The rest is mutual funds. Yeah, absolutely. And everybody should do a Roth. And don't listen to people that say that if you're high income, you can't do a Roth. There's something called a backdoor Roth that you can do, and it works, and it's legal, and you can still do a Roth. And that you should max out the Roth every year with the max that you can contribute, for sure. Let's see. If you keep saving, at what point do you start living life and start buying the things you want? That's a very good question. I think you should live life the whole time. I don't think you should, just because you're investing 15% of your income, Doesn't mean you're not living. You're still living. You're just living on less than you earn. Okay? And the beauty of this is, as you build up a nest egg, you're building that chicken that's laying the golden eggs, right? You're building a very strong chicken. And it's going to keep laying those eggs, and it's going to keep growing your nest egg, if you will. And you will eventually get to the point where you're going to be earning more money off your investments than you're earning from working. And that's kind of cool. When you get to that point, you're like, a smile will come on your face. You'll be like, wow, I just made more this month off my investments than I did working. And then that gap is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Your investment income is going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it will get to a point eventually where you won't even have to work anymore if you don't want to, because your investments will be giving you enough income that you're rocking and rolling. But I would recommend never touching the principal. Just let the principal keep growing, and then at some point maybe start living off some of the interest. Like when you finally retire or whatever. Like I'm planning on retiring maybe in 10 years, maybe. And then I'll be able to just live off of the income from investments. So it takes a lot of pressure off you when you have a nice, comfortable nest egg. That's why they called it that. That's where that term came from. You a lot more comfortable if your houses are paid for, your cars, everything's paid for, and you got nice investments, some nice rental properties, some mutual funds, I think some Bitcoin. You got all these things covered. It's going to feel a little more comfortable, I think. Oh, I can take these earbuds out because I don't need them anymore. I'm not listening to Dudley. Take them out. Okay. All right. Let's see here. I hear the loom can fall out of the bezel on a Pelagos. I hope not. I believe that it only comes in titanium, although it could be mistaken. Dogman, we all know what you meant. There was no disrespect. No, I wasn't really meaning it. I probably shouldn't have said it, but I wasn't meaning disrespect by it. The BBB is a great-looking watch, just too big for me, okay? We don't have Roth in my country. I do mutual funds instead. Okay, good thing, Tom. Mutual funds are the best way to diversify your holdings and reduce your risk substantially as opposed to buying individual stocks. I agree with you, R-Wags, but I'll tell you what. When Apple took that big hit a few weeks back, I couldn't pass it up. I scarfed up some Apple, and it's up like 16% or something since I bought it. So sometimes you can take action on a really beat up high quality stock. And what I do in that case is I'll buy a block of the stock and then ride it back up, and then I'll take some profits, and then I'll leave, like maybe I'll sell half of it or something and take the profit, and then I'll leave the rest to just ride on, right? Because I don't mind owning some Apple stock, right? Like I wouldn't mind owning some Amazon stock. I don't have any right now, but like if it got beat up real bad and took a big dive, I'd probably like grab some, right? Same thing with even Facebook. I'd probably grab some Facebook stock if it got real beat up for a couple days, and I'd probably like swoop in and grab some, because some of those stocks I wouldn't mind being stuck with if I ended up stuck with them. It's no coincidence that almost all financial advisors have Roth IRAs. They should. Live like no one else so you can live and give like no one else. Yeah, a lot of what Dave Ramsey says makes sense. That's why I've got some of it on my page, my downloads page. It's a beautiful watch. Yeah, that watch is beautiful. I think you were talking about the Day-Date 40, I think. Any thoughts on the Datejust 41? Personally, I think it looks a little bit big, and I don't know that I like the proportions that much. Personally, I would just get a 36 mil Datejust. I think it's classic. I think it's beautiful. I think you get a 36 mil Datejust with a Jubilee with the white gold bezel. You can get a good deal on them because a lot of people want to buy the bigger watches. And I think you're getting a really good-looking classic watch that you can wear for the rest of your life and have no worries. Sorry for being so nosy, but roughly how much did the Day-Date cost? Was it used? Sorry, I just started. He bought it new, and I think he bought it for around 28. Let me think. I think it was around 28,000 after the discount. He got a nice discount. I think he got around 18% off. So he bought it new from an AD, the Day-Date 40, if that's what you're asking about. And those are rough numbers, but that's close. Craig, what do you think of the R-RAN Seiko GMT versus, I guess you meant Grand Seiko, GMT versus the Diver? You've had it on one of your video updates for the Diver. Okay, I personally am not traveling across time zones much. I travel up and down the East Coast, so I'm always in the Eastern time zone. So for me, the GMT function is not needed. If it was needed, if I traveled through time zones a lot, I would absolutely get the GMT. I think they make one in titanium. I would absolutely get it. But since I don't, the Diver, I think, is a little bit thinner. It's 14 mils, and I think the other one's 14 point something mils. And the Diver has the extension bracelet. In addition to the micro adjustments, it has the extension bracelet feature that I do use. So for me, for my purposes, that's why I chose the Diver, the titanium Diver. If you need the GMT function, the GMT is a gorgeous watch. And no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And they make several GMTs that are gorgeous. They make different ones. They make ones with and without the rotating bezel, and they make a number of different designs. They make them with a strap versus a bracelet. With GS, with Grand Seiko, you really have to look them over and really study them and really figure on the one you want. It's a harder decision to make than a Rolex, because a Rolex, the product lines are very well defined, and you kind of know what you're getting, and because they've been making the same one for years. And I wish Grand Seiko would get their act together and would do the same thing. Hey, copy off the leader, guys, as far as marketing and branding and all. They got the quality down and all that, but they're all over the place with all these limited editions and all this different. It's very confusing. It's a mess. So you really have to look them over and really figure on the watch that you really want, and then lock and load. That's my best advice on that. We're going to wrap up soon because I got to eat something. But what investments can pay you more than your salary without selling the investment, besides a rental property and dividends from stocks? Tom asks. Well, I mean, there are real estate investment trusts that you can buy. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that, first of all, stocks, if you're getting a good return, I would say 10% a year, roughly 10% a year. That equates to every 7 years your money doubles, right? So that's the rate that your money is growing. So obviously, if you took some of that off the table, if you took some profits and took some of that off the table, your growth wouldn't be that much. You wouldn't be doubling, okay? Maybe it'd be a little less than that. So depending on how much you take off the table, you're killing some of the growth. you're still not killing the principal is still growing. In other words, your total that you have invested is still growing, but if you're taking some off the table, it's just not growing as fast, if that makes any sense. So let's say, for example, I've got $400,000 invested right now in stocks. And over the year, I make 10%. That's $40,000, right? If I took half of that as income, $20,000, I would still have $420,000 at the end of the year, right? So I still grew by $20,000. So my principal is still higher than it was when I started that year. It went from 400,000 to 420. You see what I'm saying? So the key is you're growing that principal. You're not killing that principal. You're not sucking it down. That's where people make the mistake, is they start sucking that principal down. Instead of taking 20,000, they take 60,000. Now they're down to 380,000, right? So they're sucking down that principal. So that's the point, I think. Let's see here. The distressed leather strap is lovely. The pass-through khaki strap looks great too. Great deal. Okay. The Datejust 41 would look good on Archie's wrist since he has tree trunks for arms, but otherwise its size is pushing it if you have 7.5 inch or less wrist. I think I agree with that. Are there countries that you wish you visited more while you were younger? I loved going to Moscow in July. It's beautiful in July. I enjoyed it. I made several trips there. Italy was a lot of fun. I went to Rome and a lot of places over there. But I'll tell you, my favorite place on earth is Sarasota, Florida in the wintertime. It's a beautiful, 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 did I say it's a beautiful place? So there you go. I'm a big fan of GMTs in general and taking a look at the Grand Seiko options. Let us know what you think, David. SBGN 005 is beautiful. GS GMT. Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. Let's see here. He said SBGN 005. 005. Okay. Images. Oh, yeah, it's the quartz one. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's fantastic. See, that's the neat thing about that is it's thinner. Now, now let me critique this watch. So this is the thing. See how the crown guards are real, like, straight around the crown? I would soften those if I was the designer. I do like the case design. I like the way the lugs are nice and kind of rounded and all that. But I would have softened those lugs a little bit, the way they look real squared off around the crown. But it's not the end of the world. I mean, it still looks good. Again, we're looking at macro shots here, and in real life, it looks better. But yeah, I think that's a gorgeous style. And see how it has lume also? That is absolutely fantastic. And they're thinner than of course, a spring drive one. I think it's really cool that they came out with that watch. Let's see what this one looks like. Is that the same watch with a different dial, I guess? Yeah, they're stunning. What's this one here? See, that's one they call the Peacock. Now, that's a high beat, so that's going to be thicker. There's so many options. That's the thing. There's so many options. I would certainly not discount the 9F movement. That's a fantastic movement. Let's see here. I have a 7.25 inch wrist. I'm 6'2" and weigh 200 pounds. My 36 mil Rolex Day-Date present looks absolutely stunning. Absolutely. I've got a 7.25 inch wrist, and I wore it all the time. It's absolutely great. I'm not as tall as you, our wags, but yeah, same size wrist. What's for dinner tonight, Craig? I'm probably just going to do a sweet potato with, I cook the sweet potato, I cut it up, I put an avocado over it, almost like instead of butter. And then I usually have like maybe some fish with it. So something really simple, because I overate last night. I was at the Shockley Honda party, and they had 7 different restaurants providing all kinds of food, and I overindulged a little bit, so I won't eat as much tonight. Rule of 72, divide return into 72. That's the number of years it takes to double your money. 10% return, it takes 7.2 years to double. There you go. There you go. Absolutely. Craig, do you play on grass or pavement tennis courts? Hard true a lot. And I have played on grass up at Westchester Country Club up in New York, and it was an absolute pleasure. Grass is a very fast service for playing tennis. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. But usually hard true, and then sometimes I do play on just regular, asphalt courts. They have a special coating on them that makes them a little softer. But yeah, the hard true is a little bit easier on the knees, and the grass, of course, is a lot easier on the knees. So there's all that. Do you like Tesla stock? I don't know. I think there's a lot of threats coming at them from Toyota, and everybody else is getting in the game of electric cars. Honda's going to be getting into it big time. I think Tesla is going to have some issues, and their quality control I don't think is that great. So if I was going to buy an all-electric car, I'd wait for Toyota to come out with one and lock and load. But I'm going to keep running my Prius indefinitely. Explorer 2 copy, and no ugly Cyclops. Good menu, Craig. Well, there you go. Sounds like a tasty dinner. I tell you, sweet potatoes are extremely nutritious and very easy for me to fix. I clean them. I do peel them, and then I wrap them in a wet paper towel, and then I zap them in the microwave, depending on the size. I know how many minutes to do till they're cooked perfectly. People say, oh, the microwave like zaps the nutrients and all that. I think that's a wives' tale. But it's quick and easy for me to do, and I do it often. All right, folks, I enjoyed it. I think it was a very positive show. We didn't have much trollery, not much tomfoolery in here. I'm going to wrap it up. Anybody else have any questions, comments, anything before I call it an evening? And yes, Steve, a Little Treasury, is going to be doing some really cool watch shows. And I've noticed some of you guys have been commenting on like some of my other videos, like Shockley video. That's always appreciated, because they're the ones that help foot the bills around here, all those businesses that I work with. And Monday night, don't forget, Monday night is Cowgirls Live. So hopefully Sarah will do a show. And hopefully there will be a lot of positive comments. Sweet potatoes are expensive in Asia. Darn, sorry about that. Okay, let me get in here so that I can shut this puppy down. Here's my old Datejust brochure. How cool is that? Okay, my first watch was a Datejust with the engine turn bezel. It had the American bracelet on it. Imagine that. Made in USA. The bracelet. All right, we're going to stop this puppy. That was like 1978. Complete event.